Perhaps you're already working at a company, and as you're talking to your higher ups, you can't help but notice that most of them have an MBA. The truth of the matter is that an MBA costs an average of $50,000 to $80,000 in the United States, and in some cases $200,000 or more. So before you go into a full-on assault on your bank account, let's take a real look at this decision and make sure it's best for you. So let's explore 5 reasons not to get an MBA. I'm AshleyStahl. I'm a former counterterrorism professional turned career coach, host of the U-Turn podcast, and author of the book U-Turn. Get unstuck, discover your direction, design your dream career. And I must say, I applaud your ambition, your commitment to learn cutting-edge business thinking, and your hunger to build relationships with high performers in your industry. Let's take a real look at this decision and make sure it's best for you. In addition to the monetary cost, an MBA represents at least 2 years of your life, which is arguably a much more significant investment than any price tag. It's an opportunity cost, time you could have spent out there in the workforce building your career. And yet, with 15% of the workforce holding some sort of advanced degree and data suggesting that workers with an advanced degree earn 20% more than those who stopped at their bachelor's degree, this question is really valid. The National Bureau of Economic Research actually did a new working paper in 2020 to evaluate whether an MBA actually impacts your earnings. And based on the research, here's a few things they found. First of all, medical school allows you to earn 42% more over the course of your lifetime. Law degrees show a promising lifelong earnings increase of 29%, but regular master degrees are questionable in their returns. And then, drum roll please, the MBA. Apparently, the average MBA raises a student's net lifetime earnings by just 1% after accounting for tuition and opportunity cost. Plus, with the COVID-19 pandemic, the initial data focused on the ROI from MBAs are looking even more bleak. And yet, not all MBAs are the same. Not every person getting an MBA is the same. It's key to do what's best for you. A lot of this has to do with how clear you are on your career path and whether you know what career is truly right for you, which is what I wrote my entire book about. Clarity is the ultimate hack for having a fulfilling and financially successful career. And if you haven't checked out my career clarity quiz on how to discover your dream career path and workplace personality, I hope you do over at ashleystahl.com/clarity-quiz. That's why I would first encourage you to examine what's truly pulling you towards an MBA so you can assess whether it's actually needed for where you're going, or perhaps you can even explore other ways to pursue those amazing goals that you have for your future. Number 1, let's talk about what a bad idea it is to get an MBA as a way to get more clarity on your career path. Business school is not the place you go in hopes you'll figure out what you want to do with your life. It's a place you go when you've decided that your career requires it, or you're hitting a glass ceiling without it, and that it requires you to get that MBA in the first place. But you need to be crystal clear on who you are and what career you're pursuing in order to decide that. The same could be said about law school, honestly, and that's just a whole other YouTube video. To gain clarity on your direction, don't go to business school. Instead, you could talk to a friend, take personality tests like the Myers-Briggs or Enneagram test, journal, or even hire a career coach or take one of my courses or anyone's courses. There's so many accessible and less expensive tools than the commitment of an MBA. And of course, my career clarity quiz is so good for this, or even my book. If after all this work on your clarity, you get clear that your career requires an MBA and you're in love with the work you're doing, go for it. That definitely happens, and I hear from plenty of readers who decide that. Number 2, let's talk about how unnecessary MBAs tend to be if you're making a career pivot. Maybe you're not towards the beginning of your career. Maybe you're a mid-career professional wanting to make a career pivot and hoping that an MBA will help you do that with more ease so that you don't have to totally start over. First of all, I just want to bust that myth. You're never truly starting over. The experiences you've had in the past are ones that you can carry with you into the future. There's a way for you to communicate about your experiences, and it's on how you learn to do that effectively. Why? Because the best jobs don't always go to the best candidate. A lot of the time, they go to the best job seeker. And that usually has to do with how well you communicate. So maybe the best communicator, really. Nonetheless, this is a common rationale for pursuing an MBA, the idea that it's going to somehow launch you in a different direction. But don't be so quick to assume that the only way to pivot in industries is to spend 2 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars on getting a whole new degree. If you're new in finance and you want to pivot into marketing, for example, you could take a more bite-sized class to acquire some of the industry-specific terminology and skills and be able to start applying for new jobs in a few months rather than years down the line. You can also post this coursework on your resume and your LinkedIn profile, and bonus if you've done it at a very reputable university. I've taken so many classes at UCLA Extension, and if I was still in the workforce, I'd be pushing that on my resume and my LinkedIn profile. Many university extension programs offer online courses to outside learners, some of which can be audited for free in business skills that you can explore to build your portfolio and transfer it into a new job. Number 3, let's talk about the price tag of an MBA, which is literally bananas. Of course, even the steepest tuition bill can be worth it if that's an investment that returns higher earnings. But an MBA tends to only give you a bump in salary if you meet a couple of key criteria. Number 1, it's from a higher ranked program. And number 2, if you're far enough along in your career and your industry or your job role requires it. On the contrary, if you're junior enough in your career, having an MBA might even work against you, as hiring managers may view you as overqualified or too expensive for that entry-level role. Remember, hiring managers want to hire people who they know are going to be so happy in the role they're offering. Any appearance of being overqualified tends to send hiring managers running for the hills and asking themselves why you'd even want to do this job given your qualifications. And hiring managers know not to hire someone who is showing signs of not truly being a fit or wanting the job, because the last thing they want to do is be hiring again soon. So if you might want to get an MBA one day, don't jump the gun and get it too early in your career if you're not 90% clear at least on what your ideal career fit is in the workforce, what skill set you want to be using, and the fact that an MBA is truly needed for it. And remember, you're not just paying for the education. You're paying to associate yourself with that brand name you're getting it from. Make sure the school you attend has a brand that translates into a bigger paycheck for you. That means saying no to some weird university that isn't going to get you that recognition or salary hike or skill set, like University of Cats, for example. You know what I mean? Okay, number 4. Let's talk about the networking opportunities, which, by the way, you can totally create without an MBA for $200,000. First things first, an MBA does not guarantee you a great network. Networking with people and being a great, authentic person is what guarantees you a great network, and having any degree is not a prerequisite for forming great relationships. In fact, research shows that success has to do with your interpersonal skills, aka your ability to network, and it isn't all about who you know exactly. In fact, network scientists draw a distinction between closed networks and open networks. Most people gravitate towards closed networks, social or professional groups made up of more or less the same people and ideas, in which over time you become mutually familiar. As you acquire knowledge from those closed networks or groups in your life, your reputation improves. Alternatively, network scientists have also found that having an open network is a huge predictor of success. What this means is that you don't only talk to people in your field with your same background, and you don't only move within one circle, let's say your MBA colleagues. With an open network, you're exposed to a variety of questions and ideas, and you learn to translate those thoughts between groups with different concerns and different people. This poises you to think with flexibility and come up with ideas that are deeply, deeply creative. Given that I've written an entire book on how to create your dream career, I've often found myself around a closed network of other authors. It wasn't until I recently started networking with other sorts of writers, like TV show writers, that my most creative and fun ideas started coming forward, even this YouTube channel. And the ideas weren't just from me sitting in this energy with them. Often the conversations turn into ideas they'd recommend to me. And better yet, some of these kind people would go out of their way to hook me up with a resource or a contact that could be my new idea supporter. So you want to think about this MBA in light of this. Will an MBA truly expose you to thought leaders in business? Yes. Will it equip you to broker relationships between smaller networks of people from totally different backgrounds? Maybe, not always. How can you build relationships, ask yourself, with a variety of groups of people whose work interests you? Because my friend, you don't need an MBA to do that. Again, if you're crystal clear that your ideal career path requires an MBA to get ahead and spare you from hitting a financial or responsibility ceiling at work, do it. But don't do it to network, please. Okay, number 5. Let's talk about how quickly the world is changing and whether your MBA can even keep up with it. According to research, every 5 years, a core skill set that you have will become obsolete in the workforce. Needless to say, we're in a time of remarkable global change. A global pandemic has required flexibility from all of us, as businesses across all sectors are pivoting to adjust to the new realities we're in. What MBA would prepare us for the specificities of this crazy upheaval? And there are more shifts to come. Automation is transforming some workplaces in a way that expands their operations, while automation has also been threatening to make others obsolete. Climate change is increasing the severity and frequency of severe weather and influencing relocation decisions, or what's now known as climigration. And all of this is spurring changes in the tax policy and energy or clean energy industries. Demographic shifts will fuel international power shifts throughout this century that are already underway. How long will it take for the instruction in an MBA program to properly reflect the ever-changing workplace and the nature of current and changing geopolitical relationships? Even if you do get an MBA, it wouldn't be a one and done. You'll still need to learn and evolve throughout your career in life. Let me tell you, I studied international relations and national security for my master's degree at King's College London in the Department of War Studies back in 2009. And all the things I studied and focused on, like the terrorist group Al-Qaeda, feel way less at the forefront of counterterrorism right now. So what's calling you to get a master's degree or an MBA? Are there other ways you can explore and honor your goals? How can you open up your network, crystallize your clarity, and grow your skills in this changing world? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and share this with a friend who might really need this. I know how painful it could be to be in this question. And in the meantime, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. What do you think about getting an MBA? It's not that I'm against it, it's just that I'm for thinking about it. Did you get one and find it massively helpful? I'm always looking for more tips. Until next time, my friend.